G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to War Thunder with Mags. Sorry for the new addition on the introduction. Recent events involving Gaijin and YouTube and recent changes to the EULA have forced me to actually have to add a disclaimer to the start of just my War Thunder videos. They will not be present on anything else. I don't think there's a need. This is mainly because, as you are well aware, my content tends to be more critical of Gaijin and really any software developer I choose to cover. I am not biased against Gaijin at all. I tend to take a good hard look at anything that I cover, but this of course does mean that often my videos don't come up all sunshine and butterflies for Gaijin Entertainment and War Thunder. So a disclaimer is simply the first step in a series of steps that I'll be taking to defend my channel, which is now my work and my livelihood. But that's enough of that. Let's get on to the plane, and of course we are in the much requested TA-152, or at least the plane that claims to be a TA-152. The reality is this plane is suffering from exactly the same issue as the plane that claims to be a Sea Fury. It's not. It looks like one, it has the correct name, but it's not. The Focke-Wulf TA-152 was the last aircraft designed by the famous German aeronautical engineer Kurt Tank for the Luftwaffe in World War II. Kurt Tank is the man most responsible for the creation of the Focke-Wulf 190 and also designed the Focke-Wulf Condor. The aircraft was a variation of the Focke-Wulf 190 D9 Dora. The aircraft was one of the few built in World War II to feature a pressurised cockpit, along with several other modifications in the cockpit to account for high altitude flight. Physical changes included the tail and nose being extended with the size of the rear control surfaces increased. The wing was also noticeably redesigned with a higher aspect ratio wing, similar to what you would see on many of today's gliders. This was designed to generate higher than normal amounts of lift, creating both a stable firing platform and the control required for prolonged high-speed flight and combat at extreme altitudes. Historically, the TA-152 was able to cruise at a maximum altitude of 49,500 feet or 15,100 meters using the GM-1 nitrous oxide boost, and could achieve a maximum speed of 760 kilometers an hour at 41,000 feet or 12,500 meters, again using nitrous oxide injection, with a rate of climb of 3,900 feet per minute with a maximum fuel load to a rate of climb of over 5,000 feet per minute on a minimum fuel load. So, how does all this translate into War Thunder? Well, the truth of the matter is it doesn't. Even on minimum fuel loads, 3,900 feet a minute is an optimistic climb rate. The TA-152 can be outclimbed to 25,000 feet by pretty much any fighter it faces. It is completely incapable of hitting its maximum altitude of 49,500 feet that it historically had. The engine simply runs out of steam long before getting there. It can, if you are willing to spend the time, struggle its way up to 41,000 feet, the altitude that the aircraft was designed to operate at. This is where it is supposed to have its optimal performance. But you're looking at a maximum speed at that altitude of somewhere in the vicinity of 280 kilometers an hour, not 760 kilometers an hour as it historically was capable of. So, what about the aerodynamic changes to the aircraft? Surely they must help in some way when you get up into at least into War Thunder level high altitude combat, so in excess of 20,000 feet. No, it doesn't. It makes absolutely no difference to the performance of the aircraft at all. In fact, Spitfires, such as the Mark 9 I'm trying to fight against here, actually handle better at this altitude. The TA-152 doesn't seem to handle any better or worse than the D9, the D12 or the D13 in terms of aerodynamic handling at this altitude. So the effects of the physical shape of the aircraft either are not modelled or are having effects so low that you will not notice them. In terms of engine performance, the aircraft does perform markedly better than the D9, of which the TA-152 is based on. However, its engine performance is probably the equivalent to that of the D12 or the D13 at this altitude. In the long run here, what you've got is an aircraft that performs like a D12 or a D13 at over 20 to 25,000 feet, but below 20,000 feet performs markedly worse than the D12 or the D13. Now, on my 6 at the moment, the Spitfire has managed to get behind, and you'll be noticing that I am pulling away from this Spitfire. That must be an advantage, Mags. The TA-152 is faster than the average aircraft at this altitude. No, it's not. Watch the distance gauge to this Spitfire. I turn almost as soon as I see it happening, because I know that's the maximum that is going to occur. The TA-152 accelerates at low speed, so between stall speed and about 300 km an hour faster than most aircraft at this altitude. However, once it hits around 300 km an hour or just over, other aircraft start catching up. Now, for those that failed to spot it when it made its earlier close passes, that is not a Griffon Spitfire. That is a standard British LF Mark 9. Now, for those of you who don't know the numbers or the naming conventions for British aircraft, LF designator is low fighter. It means the aircraft is set with an engine that is designed for low altitude combat. And he's catching a TA-152 at 23,000 feet. Now, my engine's cooled down enough here that I can start wepping again without overheating, although I'm only going to be able to do this for a few seconds before the engine overheats because, well, it appears the radiator modifications that were designed to keep the engine of the TA-152 cold while it was running incredibly high amounts of boost and the GM1 nitrous oxide injection haven't been modelled either. But as you would have seen, the Spitfire was still closing the distance, so I was forced to just bring the plane around and take the risk of a head-on, which pays out in my favour. Now, I want you to notice the turning time on the TA-152. The high aspect ratio wing was designed to allow the aircraft to manoeuvre relatively normally by D-series Focke-Wulf standards at extreme altitudes. But as you can see, the turning circle on the TA-152 is in fact so large that a Spitfire can cross a 2 km plus gap in the time it takes you to do a simple 180. Now, I've been doing this a lot in the past, so I'm going to have to go through this again. It sounds like I'm harping on about the TA-152 and its negatives a lot, and I am. And the reason is because this isn't a TA-152. This is an aircraft that looks like a TA-152. It carries the name TA-152, but its performance in-game doesn't reflect any of the capabilities of the aircraft. It is not the high-altitude fighter that it's meant to be. In fact, you are better off flying just about any other D-series Focke-Wulf 190. You will have better luck than you will in the TA-152. Sure, you can make it work. I'm making it work right now. But it's a plane you have to make work. It's not a plane that will work with you. Now, at this point, the enemy team is pretty much out of fighters. There are only 2 aircraft left. They're 2 B-29s that turned immediately out of the spawn point here and went straight north to hide. Thankfully, one of our Focke-Wulf 190s managed to pick up on the dots and has been tracking them. He's going to eliminate one. I'm going to move in on the second one. They were trying to climb to space to drag this match out in order to win by ground forces victory. The interesting thing is that these 2 B-29s didn't actually go anywhere near the ground targets or the bases on the other side of the map first. They immediately turned north and climbed to altitude, and that is all they've been doing for the entire length of this fight thus far. So, while we're cruising over there to see about removing these last 2 bombers, let's finish up on the TA-152. The reason why I haven't wanted to put this plane on the channel is because it's not the plane that it claims to be. It's as simple as that. Now, I can almost forgive that a little bit in an aircraft like the Sea Fury, because it is only a new aircraft. Of course, the flight model should have been put into the game, finished, complete, and operating at correct historical numbers from the word go. It wasn't, but that's kind of a Gaijin thing. Hopefully the numbers will be fixed up, the Sea Fury will go up to full performance, and it will be re-tiered to an area that is appropriate for its performance level. The problem is, with the TA-152, is this isn't a new aircraft. The TA-152 has been in War Thunder for as long as I can remember, so we're talking numbers of around 3 years, and it's still not a TA-152. It's had multiple flight model adjustments in those 3 years, and it's still not a TA-152. For anybody who respected Kirk Tank's final Focke-Wulf design before World War II ended, this plane's a slap in the face and an insult all rolled into one. And let's be honest here, the real TA-152, whether you like German aircraft, whether you don't like German aircraft, the real TA-152 was an amazing aircraft for its time. This is just a disappointment. It really is. What gets me even more is that I've been watching for the last 2 years people trying to get Gaijin to add another variant of the TA-152 into the game. I believe it's a C3 variant with multiple 20mm cannons. Yeah, all the firepower in the world, that's really amazing, but they haven't got the first TA-152 right, and you want them to put in the second one? You do realise you're setting yourself up for disappointment, right? Anyways, I finally managed to intercept the space shuttle and put my first rounds through. I did a long stream as I went past, The B-29's pilot was clearly too busy on the turrets tracking the Focke-Wulf 190 behind him to actually see me coming. Unfortunately, the surprise attack was somewhat foiled by the fact that almost every single 30mm round that hit him, in fact I believe every single 30mm round that hit him, sparked, so I only collected him with the 20mm. Still, brought the TA-152 back around and I'm back at 25,000 feet above him, closing back on his position. Actually, that's probably the only thing I can give to the TA-152. The only thing that maybe some of its aerodynamic characteristics have been modelled with. The aircraft doesn't seem to lose as much altitude when you perform dives as other variants of the 190. It's not much of an advantage, it can be useful in some situations. This one in particular allowed me to bring the plane back around relatively quickly, get back above the B-29 to track it, and maintain altitude above it so we can't get all those defensive gunners on me at the same time. And as you can see, many members of the team are actually getting a little frustrated over this behaviour, and I can't say I blame them too much. I'm more focused in at the moment on trying to remove this B-29. However, he now knows I'm here, he now knows I am the primary threat as I am above him, and I'm moving into position to dive directly down on top of him. I want to get as much of his profile into my guns as I can, as I only have 140 rounds of ammunition to take out a B-29. It's also very important that I take him out. Currently the Focke-Wulf 190 that's back here with me is almost out of ammunition. While we do have teammates coming in our direction at the moment, because they have taken off from the runway, they will be engaging the B-29 from below, which is never a good thing. So begin my dive, line up, I'm going to take the left wing. I do a wide spray high first. I actually strike the right and left engine at the same time, split the wing off, but it only takes 150 caliber round to hit, and I took more than one to light me on fire. Still losing the TA-152 in exchange for a B-29 that was trying to climb its way into orbit. I consider that a pretty good trade. So that's the end of the match. Let's go through to the results. So, second place for the team with 3 kills and 1 assist. Unfortunately, I didn't survive the battle. Our team leader seemed to go for every single one of the ground targets available on the map and did a damn good job. Professional X2, Shadow Strike Streak X2, Windstreak X3, Terror of the Sky and On Hand, 85,510 Silver Lions, and 4,379 research points, which was enough to complete the 20mm cannons upgrade. So yes, I still am in the process of spading the TA-152, but as you can see here, all the performance upgrades are done. All I had was the 20mm upgrade and the 30mm cannon upgrade left to go. Everything else has been finished. So that was a TA-152 with maximum flight performance. And, as I said, it's a disappointment. It's missing certain things. The GM1 injection is not modelled, which immediately kills a large percentage of its high altitude performance. The engine performance seems significantly lower than I would anticipate for an aircraft of this thing's reputation and real-life historical documented test data. And the high altitude aerodynamic performance of the aircraft is again lackluster, especially for an aircraft that has had significant modifications specifically around high altitude flight performance. In War Thunder, it's a bit of a lemon. You can make it work if you can get it into the right situation under the right circumstances, but as a general rule, you will always perform better in a standard D model 190. And that is one hell of a shame. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.